Hi everybody, I'm Amy from the Cauldron, and in today's episode of Dye Time I'm going to be challenging myself to over dye this skein of yarn. Now this is a 10 gram skein of 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon in 4-ply, and it's been dyed with Caribbean blue, which is an acid dye from Dharma. It's dyed at a 1% depth of shade, and I do this when I get a new dye. I do this to test out what the dyes are like, how strong they are, how easily they absorb to the yarn and all that. And then I have these lovely skeins left over. So now I get to play with them and over dye, and I'm going to be over dyeing it with Emerald from DT Craft and Design. This is an acid dye, but it doesn't look very emerald in powder form, but I promise you it turns into a gorgeous green colour. Now I've got my dedicated dye pan here. This yarn has been soaking in water and citric acid, not citric acid, it's been soaking in water and vinegar for I don't know how long, maybe nearly an hour. I don't know when I started setting up all this because I've been doing some other dyeing, and I've got the tiniest bit of water in there. There is no heat. Got a little bit of this on the end of my spoon, and I'm going to just sprinkle it over. This is sort of a low immersion type dyeing. Don't want to use too much, but you can see the dye that has hit the water and has turned into the most beautiful emerald colour. There you go. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to go too much, and this is only 10 grams after all. Wash my fingers off in there. As I said, there is no heat. If there was heat, I would definitely not be able to do that, and I would need more water. Now I have got, as you can see, I have got my gloves on, and I have got my mask on as well, because I'm dealing with powder dye. Now because this is an animal fibre, it needs acid and heat. So the acid is here. This is just some more water from the pre-soak. I'm just going to pour a bit more in and turn on the heat. There we go. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I don't know how long, because there's not much water in here. There's only a tiny bit of yarn, but I'm going to keep an eye on this, see how that dye absorbs to the yarn. All the powder has just disappeared into the water. That's not much of a surprise. However, what I would like to do, get a little bit of dye here. I think I'm just going to dump it there and then press it in like that. So hopefully that'll be a nice dark green patch. We'll see. There we go. Right, I'm just going to let this slowly heat up and keep a very close eye on it because the water level is so low. I don't want this yarn to burn. If we just have a little look at this, you can see some of this blue is coming out. I'm not sure if I actually set this dye properly or not. I think Caribbean blue was quite a bleeder, and so it's not actually setting. It's setting again, if that makes any sense. The dye that hasn't set to the yarn is coming out and mixing with this green, because you can see they've still got the emerald green over here, but around by the yarn the colour is very blue. I'll be very interested to see how this turns out. It's starting to dry up a bit, so just add a bit more water. That's the last of the pre-soak. I'm not going to add any more dye to this. I just want to see what happens to this now. I'm very, very curious. This has been on the heat for some time. I haven't been timing it. You can see the colour in the water now is blue, which I'm guessing is the colour that's come out from the yarn originally, the Caribbean blue. I remember it took ages to absorb. I don't think the dye completely exhausted, and it certainly bled a lot when I washed it. So I'm expecting something similar to happen here. I'm going to add a nice healthy squirt of vinegar. Hopefully this will help. Oops, I'm trying not to drop everything. And add a little bit more water. I have to keep topping this up because the water gets low and I don't want this to burn. So I'm going to leave this on the heat for a little bit longer, probably not too much. Hopefully it will absorb this last little bit of dye. Now that I've added more water, you can see it's not actually that much dye in there. But hopefully that vinegar and that little extra water will give it the boost that this needs. And then we will wash this. Well, let it cool down first and then wash. So this has now completely cooled. And you can see there is still the tiniest bit of colour in there. Not much, but just a little bit. So let's wash this out. I'm expecting there to be a little bit of colour run off because there was colour coming out there. It's quite hard to tell in this, but ooh, look at that yarn. That has made a beautiful yarn. I'm just going to add a little bit of washing up liquid. This smells very strongly of vinegar. I added a fair bit of vinegar to this to try and get rid of that extra dye. You can see that is still a bit blue. This is going to take a few rinses. This is just cold tap water. I'm just going to rinse this out. It's looking a little bit better. A bit more washing up liquid. That might help shift some extra dye. Let's see. Yeah, there's still dye coming out, so this is going to take a few rinses before this water runs clear, and then I'll be able to hang it up to dry once this water starts running clear. I'm just going to repeat this process a few times just to get out that extra bit of blue, but I do remember Caribbean blue was a bleeder. I couldn't get this to run clear before. And since this is only a little swatch for myself, I'm not too worried about the water running completely clear. However, if I was to sell this, then this would cause me concern if I couldn't get the water to run clear. And here is the yarn which started off as Caribbean blue, and I over-dyed it with some emerald. And you can see it's created this gorgeous teal colour with the pops of blue coming through and pops of green coming through. You can have a good close up. You can see all the different tonal variations in this, and it is absolutely stunning. I love these two colours together, and I would like to experiment with these colours again together at some point because look at it. I think it's beautiful. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Do please click like and subscribe to my channel. I produce new dyeing tutorials every Monday and they're uploaded about 6 o'clock UK time. And I like to experiment with different things in my videos. I might use food colouring one day, I might dye some roving another day, I might over dye, I might ice dye. There's all sorts of different techniques and dyes and all sorts that I love to play about with, so there should always be something different and interesting to watch. Thank you so much for watching.